If you plan to move from the UK to continental Europe, or have already moved there, inheritance tax and estate planning can be very complex and involve the interaction of UK and overseas tax regimes. This short video explores some of the key issues to consider if you want to ensure your money is in the right hands at the right time.
It's very important for UK nationals to consider how they're going to ensure that their money finishes up in the right hands at the right time. What do we mean by that? Well, there are two avenues to it. The first is the legal side and saying, okay, how can we be certain that the laws of succession in the country that I'm resident in, I've taken due notice of and I've planned my will in such a way that it's going to happen. And then secondly, how do I ensure that the tax position is correct? And one doesn't necessarily dictate the other. So you really need to take good advice to make sure that you have both columns right so that the most amount of money finishes up in the hands of your intended beneficiaries and that there isn't a great big tax take on the way.
When UK nationals move abroad, they tend to think immediately they're out of the UK inheritance tax net, and they're not. A lot of planning needs to be done to make sure that eventually the majority of their wealth will end up going to their chosen beneficiaries rather than some tax regime. And we're here to help them do that. It's complicated and it needs reviewing on a regular basis.
Under English law, we're free to leave our assets on death to whomever we choose. We can leave them to our wife, our children, the cat and dog home. However, in Portugal and other parts of Europe, they have forced heirship where there's a prescribed method of succession, and it may be that you can leave a third of your estate to your wife, a third to your children, and another third to whomever you wish. It's important to take the right advice to ensure that if you want your will to be dealt with under the laws of England, that you make a nomination within the will in the foreign country.
The difference between UK inheritance tax and French succession tax is mainly down to who pays the tax. Inheritance tax in the UK is paid by the estate of the deceased, whereas succession tax in France is paid by the recipients. So if you have a family, 2 children, let's say, mother and father have died, when the last one of them dies in the UK, as is normally the case in the UK, assets in the UK are mainly left spouse to spouse and then to the children. It's the children then who don't receive the money until the tax is paid. Whereas in France, succession law takes a precedent, but then when the inheritance is being received by the children, it's the children that receive the tax bill, not the estate of the deceased.
Tax residence is very straightforward, and we'll find that there's a statutory code that defines the number of days that you can spend in a country before you're deemed to be a resident, a tax resident of that country. Domicile, however, is a far harder thing to grasp. There's no statutory test to it. It's a feeling, and it's something that we don't have the question asked until after we're dead. Very difficult then to answer and say, well, where was your domicile? So they'll use the facts and the evidence around us. What things have we done? Have we kept bank accounts open in the UK? Have we kept property there? Does it look to the man in the street as though I'm thinking of returning to the UK? And if we've left those trappings and that indication, then HMRC will deem us to be UK domiciled. UK domicile only has one consequence, and that's inheritance tax.
One of the fears that UK nationals have of moving abroad is clearly it's a massive move. One of the advantages we have is that all of the partners with Blevins Franks have gone through the same thing. You know, we've moved away from the UK and started lives in Southern Europe. Because of that, we can make the transition a little bit easier. Even if it's only a friendly voice to talk to or bounce ideas off, we're there to help people.
Blevins Franks deals with strategic financial planning, especially for those British expatriates who are thinking of moving to Europe. That's the point when you need to start talking to Blevins Franks. The sooner you start talking to us, the sooner we can start planning, and the more smooth the transfer to Europe will be.
If this video has raised questions in your own mind about your succession and tax planning, contact us at blevinsfranks.com.